I walked into my own garage and found my wife Rebecca kissing my best friend Tyler against my workbench. That was it. 20 years of marriage, 15 years of friendship, gone in one moment. But when I finally confronted them 3 weeks later, what they told me made the affair look like nothing. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments where you're watching from right now. The security camera notification pinged on my phone at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was sitting in a client meeting downtown, discussing architectural plans for a new office building. Motion detected in garage, the alert read. I almost ignored it. Probably just the neighbor's cat again. But something made me open the app. Maybe instinct. Maybe luck. Maybe I was just bored with the presentation. The footage loaded slowly, buffering in patches. Then I saw them. Rebecca, my wife of 20 years, pressed against my workbench. Tyler, my best friend since college, his hands in her hair. They were kissing like teenagers, desperate and careless. I sat there in that conference room, phone screen glowing in my lap, watching my entire life collapse in real time. My business partner Kevin was still talking about load-bearing walls. Someone laughed at a joke I didn't hear. The world kept spinning while mine stopped completely. I closed the app carefully, set my phone face down on the table, picked up my pen, acted like everything was normal, because I needed time to think, time to plan, time to figure out what the hell I was going to do. I drove home at my usual time, 6:15 p.m., hitting every familiar pot light on Riverside Drive. The garage door opened with its normal groan. Rebecca's car sat in her spot, Tyler's truck nowhere in sight. He'd left. Inside, Rebecca was cooking dinner. Chicken parmesan, my favorite. She smiled when I walked in, kissed my cheek like she'd done 10,000 times before. "How was your day?" she asked, stirring pasta. "Fine," I said. "Yours?" "Boring. Cleaned the house, ran some errands. Nothing exciting." Her voice was steady, practiced. She'd lied to me before I realized. This wasn't her first time. I watched her move around our kitchen. This woman I'd loved since we were 23. Married at 25. Built a life with no kids, we decided early on, but plenty of everything else. A good house in a good neighborhood. 2 cars. Retirement accounts. Vacation photos from 15 countries. And Tyler. Tyler had been there for all of it. Best man at our wedding. The friend who helped us move 3 times. Who spent every Thanksgiving with us because his own family lived in Arizona. Who I trusted with everything. The chicken burned slightly while I watched her lie to my face. That night I couldn't sleep. Rebecca lay beside me, breathing deeply, while I stared at the ceiling and replayed the garage footage in my mind. Over and over. The way Tyler had pushed her against the workbench. The way she'd pulled him closer. How long had this been going on? Weeks? Months? Years? I thought about confronting them immediately. Screaming, throwing things, demanding answers. But something held me back. Some instinct that said there was more to this story. That if I moved too fast I'd never learn the whole truth. At 3 a.m. I got up and went to my office. Pulled out my laptop. Started digging. Bank statements first. Our joint account showed normal activity. Groceries, gas, utilities. Nothing suspicious. Rebecca's personal account, which she thought I didn't have access to, showed the same. No hotel charges. No mysterious cash withdrawals. Tyler's social media was clean. No suspicious posts, no tagged locations that didn't make sense. His Instagram showed the same life I'd always known. Hiking photos. His dog. Pictures of us at barbecues. Either they were incredibly careful or this was recent. I needed to know which. The next morning I called Tyler. Kept my voice normal, friendly. "Hey man, wanna grab lunch today?" "Can't," he said. "Swamped with work." "How about Thursday?" "Thursday." That gave me 2 days to prepare. "Sounds good." "The usual place." "Perfect. See you then." I hung up and immediately called my office, told them I was taking the rest of the week off. Family emergency. They didn't ask questions. I'd been working 60-hour weeks for months. I'd earned some time. Then I set up more cameras. Not just in the garage but everywhere. Living room, kitchen, backyard. Tiny wireless ones that looked like phone chargers and smoke detectors. I'd done some security consulting for a tech firm last year. They'd given me samples. I'd never thought I'd use them like this. By noon, my house was wired like a surveillance operation. Every angle covered. Every room monitored. If Rebecca brought Tyler back, I'd have it all recorded. Then I left for the day, telling her I had site visits. I parked 3 blocks away and watched the camera feeds from my truck. Rebecca left the house at 1:30 p.m. I watched her drive away on the traffic cameras I'd hacked into using software I probably shouldn't have had. She drove to the mall. Spent 2 hours shopping. Came home with bags from Nordstrom. No affair activities. No Tyler. Just a normal afternoon. Tyler stayed at work until 6, then went home to his apartment. I knew because I'd driven past and seen his truck. No secret rendezvous. No sneaking around. Maybe Tuesday had been a one-time thing. A moment of weakness they both regretted. Maybe I was overreacting. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was happening. The way they'd kissed in my garage hadn't looked like a first-time mistake. It had looked practiced. Comfortable. Routine. Wednesday was the same. Rebecca ran errands. Tyler worked late. They didn't contact each other, at least not in any way I could track. Their phone records, which I'd obtained through methods I'm not proud of, showed nothing suspicious. No calls. No texts. Which meant they were communicating some other way. Or they were being incredibly careful. Thursday came. Lunch with Tyler. I met Tyler at Murphy's Pub at noon. Our usual spot for 15 years. He was already there, sitting in our regular booth, looking completely normal. Relaxed. Happy to see me. How's it going? He asked as I slid into the seat across from him. Good. Busy. You know how it is. I ordered a burger I wouldn't be able to eat. We talked about normal things. Work, sports, his dog's surgery recovery. He mentioned needing to replace his truck's transmission. Complained about his landlord raising rent. Everything was so perfectly ordinary that I started questioning what I'd seen. Then he said it. How's Rebecca? Something in his tone. Too casual. Too careful. She's great, I said, watching his face. Why? No reason. Just haven't seen her in a while. Usually run into her at the store or something. Liar. I'd seen him kissing her 3 days ago. And now he was pretending they barely crossed paths. Yeah, she's been busy with her book club and volunteer stuff, I said. He nodded. Took a drink. Changed the subject to football. I let him. Because I was learning something valuable. Tyler was a better liar than Rebecca. That night, I told Rebecca I had an early flight to Seattle for a weekend conference. A lie. There was no conference. I wanted to see what happened when they thought I was gone. This weekend? She asked, disappointment crossing her face. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. Unfortunately. The client insisted. I'll be back Sunday night. She kissed me goodbye Friday morning. I drove to the airport, parked in long-term parking, then took an Uber back to a hotel 10 minutes from our house. Room 412 with a view of nothing but the parking lot and a good internet connection. I opened my laptop and pulled up all the camera feeds. Waited. Rebecca left the house at 10 a.m. I tracked her to the grocery store, then to her sister's house across town. She stayed there for 3 hours. Normal sister visit. Then home. Tyler went to work. Left at 5 p.m. Went to the gym. Then home to his apartment. No contact. No affair activities. Just two people living separate, normal lives. Saturday was the same. Sunday I actually started to feel crazy. Maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. Then, Sunday at 8 p.m. my garage camera caught movement. Tyler's truck pulled into my driveway. He got out, looked around quickly, then walked to the side door of the garage. Rebecca let him in. They didn't kiss this time. They talked, close together, serious expressions. I couldn't hear them. The cameras didn't have audio, a mistake I was now regretting. But I could read body language. This wasn't romantic. This was strategic. Planning something. They talked for 20 minutes. Tyler pulled out his phone, showed her something. She nodded, then shook her head at something else. He looked frustrated. She touched his arm, reassuring him. Then they hugged. Not a passionate embrace. A comforting one. Like partners in something bigger than an affair. Tyler left through the side door. Rebecca stood in the garage for a long moment after he was gone, her face unreadable. Then she went inside. I sat in that hotel room, staring at frozen frames of their conversation, and realized I'd been wrong about everything. This wasn't just an affair. This was something else. Something planned. Something that required secret meetings when they thought I was out of town. What the hell were they planning? Monday morning, I came home from my fake trip. Rebecca greeted me warmly, asked about Seattle, seemed genuinely interested in my made-up conference details. I gave her a fake summary I'd prepared. She believed every word. That week, I became someone I didn't recognize. I tracked their movements obsessively. Read their emails using passwords I'd recovered from our shared computer. Monitored their phone calls through redirected data I'd set up. Nothing. They were ghosts. Professional criminals couldn't have been more careful. Except for one thing. Tyler's bank statements showed cash withdrawals. $500 here, $800 there. Always from ATMs, never from the bank counter where there'd be records. Over the past 6 months, he'd withdrawn $12,000 in cash. Rebecca's statements showed the same pattern. Smaller amounts but consistent. $200 every 2 weeks like clockwork. Never at the same ATM twice. They were building a cash reserve. For what? I checked our joint savings. Everything was intact. Our retirement accounts untouched. The house was paid off. We had no debt. So this money wasn't being stolen from me. It was coming from somewhere else. From who? I hired someone. Not a private investigator, nothing that official. A guy Kevin knew from college who did information consulting. His name was Bradley. He didn't ask questions when I handed him photos of Tyler and Rebecca. Just tell me what they're doing, I said. Who they're meeting. Where they're going when I can't follow. Bradley was expensive. $5,000 upfront, more if this went long. I paid from a separate account Rebecca didn't know about. Money I'd been saving for a surprise anniversary trip to Italy. Instead, I was using it to spy on my wife. Bradley worked fast. Within 3 days he had information. Tyler had been meeting with a man named Vincent Caruso twice a week for the past 2 months. Always at different coffee shops, always cash transactions for the coffee, no paper trail. Who's Vincent Caruso? I asked. That's the interesting part, Bradley said. He doesn't exist. The name's fake. But I got photos. He showed me surveillance pictures of Tyler sitting across from a man in his 50s. Expensive suit. Cold eyes. The kind of man who looked like he did business that wasn't quite legal. And your wife? Bradley continued. My stomach dropped. She met with him too? 3 times. Always separate from Tyler. Different locations. I stared at the photos until they burned into my brain. Rebecca sitting in a Starbucks across from this Vincent Caruso. Her face serious, professional. Not romantic. Not friendly. Transactional. What are they buying from him? I asked Bradley. Or selling to him, Bradley corrected. I don't know yet. But I can find out. It'll cost more. Do it. He left. I sat in my home office, door locked, trying to piece together a puzzle where none of the pieces made sense. My wife and my best friend were having an affair, but also doing business with a man using a fake name. They were withdrawing cash systematically. Meeting in secret. Planning something. The affair almost seemed secondary now. A side effect of whatever larger scheme they were running. I thought about our finances again. Checked every account 3 times. Nothing missing. If anything, Rebecca had been putting more money into our savings lately. An extra $1,000 last month. Another $1,500 2 months before that. Where was that money coming from? I checked her employment records. She worked part-time at an art gallery downtown, had for 8 years. Her salary was $32,000 a year, paid regularly, properly taxed. Everything legitimate. So where was the extra money coming from? Bradley called me 4 days later. We need to meet. Not at your office. Not at your house. We met at a parking garage downtown like characters in a bad movie. He handed me a folder. Inside were more photos and printed documents. Your friend Tyler, Bradley said, has been running a side business. High-end art forgery. My brain stopped working for a second. What? He copies paintings. Expensive ones. Then sells them to private collectors who think they're getting stolen originals at a discount. He's been doing it for at least 3 years, probably longer. I looked at the documents. Sales records. Email printouts. Photos of paintings I recognized from museums and galleries. Except these versions were hanging in Tyler's apartment, photographed from angles that suggested he'd been working on them. Tyler had been an art student in college. Incredibly talented. Could copy anything. He'd gone into graphic design after graduation because, as he'd always said, fine art doesn't pay the bills. Apparently he'd found a way to make it pay very well. And Rebecca? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She's his authenticator. Rebecca's job at the art gallery suddenly made horrible sense. She had access to authentication tools, databases of provenance records, contacts with appraisers and experts. She'd been using her legitimate position to make Tyler's forgeries look real. Vincent Caruso is their broker, Bradley continued. He connects them with buyers. Takes a 30% cut. Your wife and Tyler split the rest. They've made approximately $470,000 in the past 3 years. I couldn't breathe. Nearly $500,000. From fraud. From forgery. From crimes that could send them both to prison for years. Where's the money? I asked. Offshore accounts. Cayman Islands. Very well hidden. Your wife's been slowly filtering clean money back into your joint accounts to avoid suspicion. But the bulk of it sits offshore waiting? Waiting for what? Bradley looked at me like I was slow to run. They're building an exit fund. Once they hit their target, probably another $100,000 or so, they'll disappear. New identities, new country, new life. Together. Tyler and Rebecca. Running away with stolen money to start over somewhere I'd never find them. The affair wasn't the crime. It was the escape plan. I paid Bradley the rest of his fee and drove home in a daze. Everything made sense now. The secret meetings. The careful communication. The cash withdrawals for expenses that couldn't be traced. They weren't just having an affair. They were building a criminal empire in my blind spots. And they were planning to abandon me completely. I thought about going to the police. But with what evidence? Photos of them talking? Bank statements showing cash withdrawals? Bradley's investigation was thorough but mostly illegal. Nothing he'd gathered would be admissible in court. I needed them to confess. Or I needed to catch them in the act. That night, Rebecca made dinner. We ate together like normal. She talked about a new exhibit at the gallery, some local artist showing seascapes. I nodded and pretended to care. You seem distracted, she said. Everything okay? Just work stress. The Morrison project is behind schedule. She bought it. Or pretended to. We'd gotten so good at lying to each other that I couldn't tell the difference anymore. After dinner, I went to my office and made a plan. A real one. Not just surveillance and suspicion. Action. I was going to give them exactly what they wanted. And then I was going to destroy them. The next morning I called Tyler. Hey, I need your advice on something. Art-related. Can you come by the house tonight? Around 8. Sure, what's it about? I'll explain tonight. It's complicated. He agreed. Perfect. Then I called Rebecca at work. Honey, I invited Tyler over tonight to look at some paintings I'm thinking of buying for the Morrison building. That okay? Of course, she said. I'll make coffee. At 7:45 p.m., I set my phone to record audio in my pocket. Not admissible in court, but I needed this for me. I needed to hear them admit it. Tyler arrived at 8 exactly. Rebecca made coffee. We sat in the living room, the three of us, like we'd done 100 times before. Game nights. Movie nights. Normal friend gatherings. Except nothing was normal anymore. So, Tyler said, what paintings are you looking at? I pulled out my tablet, showed him images I'd carefully selected. These. Local artist. Estate sale. They're authenticated, but I want a second opinion before I spend $80,000 of the client's money. Tyler studied them carefully. Professional interest on his face. Rebecca watched from the kitchen doorway, coffee mug in hand. They're real, Tyler said finally. Good investment actually. The artist's value has been climbing. How can you tell? I asked. He explained brushwork, technique, signature analysis. Everything a forger would know. You know a lot about authentication, I said casually. Ever think about doing it professionally? Tyler laughed. Not enough money in it. Unless you're working for auction houses or insurance companies. Or unless you're creating the pieces yourself. The room went silent. Tyler's smile froze. Rebecca set down her coffee mug carefully. What's that supposed to mean? Tyler asked. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder Bradley had given me, held it up so they could both see. Photos of Tyler's apartment. Photos of paintings. Photos of Vincent Caruso. Bank records. I know everything, I said quietly. The forgeries. The offshore accounts. The exit plan. All of it. Rebecca's face went white. Tyler stood up, hands raised. Listen, let me explain. Sit down, I said, and something in my voice made him obey. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The three of us, sitting in my living room, surrounded by the ruins of 20 years of trust. How long? I asked. How long what? Rebecca's voice was barely a whisper. All of it. The forgeries. The affair. How long? Tyler and Rebecca looked at each other. Some silent communication passing between them. There is no affair, Rebecca said finally. I stared at her. I saw you. In the garage. Kissing. That was staged, Tyler said. We knew you'd been acting suspicious. Checking accounts, asking weird questions. We thought if you suspected an affair, you'd focus on that and not look deeper. The world tilted. You wanted me to think you were having an affair? It was easier than you finding out the truth, Rebecca said. She sat down across from me, hands folded in her lap. The forgery started 3 years ago. Tyler needed money for his mother's cancer treatment. Insurance wouldn't cover the experimental therapy. He was desperate. I helped him create one fake painting, Rebecca continued. Just one. We sold it for $40,000. His mother got treatment. She went into remission. We thought that was the end. But then Vincent found out, Tyler said. He'd been the buyer. When he realized we'd sold him a fake, he tracked us down. Said he'd report us to the FBI unless we kept working for him. Blackmail, Rebecca said. We've been trapped for 3 years, creating forgeries because Vincent threatens to destroy us if we stop. I looked between them. And the offshore accounts? Vincent's insurance policy. He forces us to keep the money offshore where he can track it. If we try to run or go to the police, he empties the accounts and disappears. We get nothing and go to prison. The story was too detailed to be improvised. Too specific. They'd been planning to tell someone eventually, and apparently I was that someone. Why not just go to the FBI yourselves? I asked. Cut a deal. We tried, Tyler said. 6 months ago. Vincent found out. He has connections everywhere. The agent we talked to was dirty. Reported back to Vincent immediately. Rebecca's voice cracked. He threatened to kill you, Bennett. Said if we ever tried to turn him in again, you'd disappear. We stopped everything after that. Started planning to just take what money we could and run. Get away from Vincent, protect you, start over. Together? I asked. As friends? Rebecca said firmly. Tyler and I are not having an affair. We never have. He's gay, Bennett. Has been his whole life. Tyler nodded. I'm sorry I never told you. My family, they're religious. Conservative. I've been hiding it my whole life. Rebecca's the only person who knows. I sat back trying to process. Tyler was gay. There was no affair. The kissing in the garage had been theater. All of this, the surveillance, the suspicion, the hurt, had been a distraction from the real crime. And the real crime was worse than I'd imagined. Show me proof, I said. About Vincent. About the threats. Everything. For the next hour, they walked me through 3 years of criminal activity. Showed me emails, photos of Vincent's threats, records of the coerced forgery sales. Rebecca pulled up the offshore account information, showed me how Vincent had access to track and control it. Tyler showed me photos of his mother, alive and healthy now, unaware that her son had become a criminal to save her life. We're not asking for forgiveness, Rebecca said. We know what we did was wrong. But we need help. We can't escape Vincent alone. Why didn't you tell me from the beginning? Because you're a good man, Tyler said. You would have gone to the police immediately. And Vincent would have killed you for it. We've been trying to protect you while figuring out our own escape. I looked at my wife, this woman I'd thought I knew. You've been lying to me for 3 years. Yes. You've used your job, our life, everything we built to commit fraud. Yes. And you expect me to help you now? Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. No. I expect you to divorce me and move on. But I'm asking anyway. Because we're desperate. And you're the only person we trust. The room went quiet again. I should have called the police. Should have protected myself, my reputation, my business. Should have cut them both loose and let them face the consequences of their choices. Instead, I heard myself say, tell me about Vincent's operation. Everything. How he finds buyers, how he moves money, how he communicates. Tyler and Rebecca looked at each other in surprise. Then Tyler pulled out his laptop. For the next 3 hours, they walked me through Vincent's entire criminal network. He had connections in 6 countries. Operated through shell companies and encrypted communications. Sold forged art to wealthy collectors who didn't ask questions. Made millions while keeping his artists trapped through blackmail and threats. He has 3 other teams like us, Rebecca said. Other forgers he controls. We've never met them, but we know they exist. He rotates which team is active to avoid patterns. And he's been operating for at least 15 years, Tyler added. Nobody's ever caught him. He's too careful. I thought about the Morrison Building project. The one I'd mentioned to Tyler earlier. The client was a tech millionaire with connections to federal law enforcement. He'd mentioned it casually at our last meeting, how his brother-in-law worked for the FBI's art crime division. I think I know how to trap him, I said. The plan was risky. Illegal in several ways. Could destroy all our lives if it failed. But it was the only option that didn't end with someone in prison or dead. I called my client, Andrew Morrison, the next morning. That art we discussed for your building? I found a better option. A collection that's about to hit the market. Very exclusive. Interested? How exclusive? The kind that requires cash and discretion. Long pause. Andrew was smart. He knew what I was implying. How much? $200,000 for 3 pieces. Authenticated. Incredible investment. Let me make some calls. He called back 2 hours later. My brother-in-law wants to know more. The FBI one. Tell him I might have stumbled onto a forgery ring. But I need to play along to get evidence. You're serious? Completely. Another pause. He'll call you in an hour. Don't talk to anyone else about this. The FBI agent's name was William Foster. He called exactly 1 hour later. I explained everything. The forgeries. Vincent Caruso. The blackmail. Tyler and Rebecca's situation. My plan to set up a fake sale that would draw Vincent into the open. This is highly irregular, Foster said. You're asking me to let crimes continue so we can catch a bigger fish. Yes. And if this goes wrong, you could all end up in prison. Yes. He was quiet for a long time. I'll need to meet with your wife and friend. Hear their story directly. If I believe them, we'll consider working together. But no promises. The meeting happened in a safe location Foster chose. A office building downtown, after hours, no witnesses. Tyler and Rebecca walked in looking terrified. I didn't blame them. Foster was exactly what you'd expect from an FBI agent. Mid-40s, serious, no nonsense. He listened to their entire story without interrupting. Asked pointed questions. Made them prove details with documentation. After 2 hours he sat back. Vincent Caruso has been on our radar for 8 years. But he's a ghost. We've never been able to tie him directly to any crimes. His shell companies are too well hidden. So you'll help us? Rebecca asked. I'll consider it. But you both need to understand something. If we do this, if we set up this sting, you're not getting immunity. You've committed serious crimes. The best I can offer is that I'll recommend leniency to the prosecutor. Reduced charges, maybe probation instead of prison. But you will face consequences. Tyler nodded. We understand. And your husband, Foster turned to me, will be operating as an unofficial confidential informant. If this goes wrong, if Vincent suspects anything, you'll be in serious danger. We'll provide some protection, but it's not foolproof. I understand, I said. Foster pulled out paperwork. Then let's start building a case. Over the next week, we constructed an elaborate trap. I would approach Vincent through Tyler, claiming to be a wealthy buyer interested in acquiring multiple forgeries for a new building project. The FBI would wire me for every meeting, document every transaction. Tyler would create one final forgery, a small one, to establish authenticity. Rebecca would provide false documentation. Vincent would handle the sale, believing he was making his normal profit. But the buyer would be an undercover FBI agent posing as a tech millionaire. And the moment money changed hands, they'd arrest everyone involved. Except us, Rebecca confirmed. Tyler and I cooperate, we testify, and we get reduced charges. Correct, Foster said. Probably 2 years probation, community service, restitution. But no prison time if you follow the plan exactly. It wasn't perfect, but it was survival. The sting took 3 weeks to set up. Tyler painted a small forgery of a Monet sketch. Rebecca created authentication papers that looked real enough to fool anyone who wasn't looking carefully. I played the role of corrupt architect willing to buy stolen art. Vincent met me twice. Once at a coffee shop, once at his office, a nondescript building in an industrial area. He was exactly as cold as his photos suggested. Professional. Careful. Suspicious. Why should I trust you? He asked at our second meeting. Because Tyler vouches for me. And because I'm paying $200,000 cash. You don't turn down that kind of money. He studied me. I kept my expression neutral, businessman to businessman. The wire under my shirt felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Finally, Vincent nodded. The exchange happens Friday night. 8 p.m. I'll send you the location that morning. You bring cash. I bring the painting and documentation. We trade, you leave. And if something goes wrong? His smile was ice. Then people get hurt. So make sure nothing goes wrong. I left that meeting and drove straight to Foster's command center. He's agreed. Friday night. We'll be ready, Foster said. But Bennett, understands something. Vincent is dangerous. If he suspects this is a setup, he'll run. Or worse. You need to be absolutely convincing. I thought about Rebecca and Tyler, both waiting at home, both facing prison time even with cooperation. Thought about Vincent's other victims, the teams he controlled through blackmail and threats. I'll be convincing, I said. Friday night arrived cold and clear. Vincent texted me an address at 7 a.m. An abandoned warehouse in the industrial district, the kind of location that screamed danger. The FBI had 6 hours to set up surveillance. Foster assured me they'd be everywhere. Agents in unmarked cars, snipers on rooftops, undercover officers posing as homeless people. I would be surrounded by protection. It didn't make me feel any safer. At 7:45 p.m., I drove to the warehouse with $200,000 in cash in a briefcase. The wire under my shirt was active. Foster's voice came through the tiny earpiece they'd given me. "We have eyes on you. You're safe. Just follow the plan." I parked. Walked into the warehouse. Vincent was already there with the painting and a man I didn't recognize. His bodyguard probably. "You're early," Vincent said. "Nervous," I admitted. "True enough." He gestured to a table. "Show me the money." I opened the briefcase. He examined the cash carefully, counting stacks. Satisfied, he handed me the painting and documentation. "Pleasure doing business." "Likewise." I turned to leave. Made it 3 steps. Then Vincent said, "One more thing." I stopped. Turned back. Vincent was pointing a gun at me. "You're FBI," he said calmly. "Or working with them. I can always tell." My heart stopped. The plan had failed. Foster's voice in my ear said, "Stay calm. We're moving in." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. "Your friend Tyler sold you out. Called me yesterday, told me everything. Said you were setting me up." Vincent smiled. "So I called his bluff. Told him to prove his loyalty by confirming you were wired. He did. 20 minutes ago. Tyler had betrayed us. After everything, after planning this together, he'd chosen Vincent's side." Then Vincent's bodyguard moved and I saw his face clearly for the first time. It was Tyler. Not betraying us. Working undercover. He'd infiltrated Vincent's organization deeper than anyone knew. "FBI!" Tyler shouted, pulling his own weapon. "Drop the gun." The warehouse exploded with movement. Agents poured in from every direction. Vincent tried to run, but Tyler tackled him. 3 seconds later it was over. Vincent Caruso lay in handcuffs, screaming about lawyers. The FBI had everything. The money, the painting, the recorded confession. Foster helped me up. "You did good. It's over." I looked at Tyler, who was breathing hard, adrenaline fading. "You've been working with the FBI?" "For 6 months," he said. "After Rebecca and I first approached them. I went deep undercover when the first agent turned out to be dirty. Foster recruited me directly. I couldn't tell anyone, not even you. It was too dangerous." Rebecca appeared from somewhere, escorted by agents. When she saw Tyler alive and Vincent arrested, she started crying. The 3 of us stood in that warehouse surrounded by FBI agents and flashing lights. My wife, my best friend, and me. Liars, criminals, victims, and survivors all at once. "What happens now?" I asked Foster. "Now," he said, "we clean up this mess. And you all start over. Honestly this time." Tyler and Rebecca both received immunity for their cooperation. Tyler's undercover work had exposed Vincent's entire network, leading to 17 arrests across 3 countries. The offshore accounts were seized. The FBI recovered $4.2 million in stolen art and fraud proceeds. My marriage survived barely. Rebecca and I spent a year in counseling, rebuilding trust atom by atom. She quit the gallery. Started teaching art to kids instead. Legitimate work with honest purpose. Tyler moved to Portland after the trial. Started over with his real identity, finally out to his family. They struggled with it, but they're working through it. And me? I still design buildings. Still work too much. But now I know what real danger looks like. What real betrayal feels like. And what real friendship means when everything falls apart. The affair that wasn't an affair taught me something valuable. Sometimes the truth is worse than what you imagine. But sometimes, if you're lucky, the people you love are worth fighting for anyway. Even when they kiss your best friend in your garage and start a criminal empire in your blind spots.